I need to set the stage for this next gentleman. Ray Hoffstetter started here in 1948. I'm pretty sure that's a record for this room tonight. Ray started here as a stagehand. A lot of people didn't know, but everything was done in the studio in the beginning. They didn't go outside of Channel 5. All the commercials, everybody was invited to the studio. All this equipment, staging, had to be moved around. We had multiple stagehands, including Ray. There were other people that made the migration from stagehand, like Al Amon, Frank Scalisi, and even David Hummer, who just retired not too long ago. So it was a great way in the door. And I believe Ray, his father possibly was a stagehand too. Am I right, Ray?
And grandfather.
And grandfather. So it really ran into his genes, and we're talking way back when. So Ray's in to Channel 5 was a stagehand. And he quickly went from that, I believe a year later, into sound technician. And back in those days, everything was done with film. And when I talk to young people today, and we put these SD cards and cameras, and we go out and we shoot, and they're interviewing people sometimes for 17 minutes, 24 minutes. My eyes just start getting wide. You're like, holy cow. Back in the day, Ray shot with a camera that had a spool of film that lasted about 14 minutes. He had to get, the small cameras last about 7 minutes, correct?
11 minutes.
11 minutes. I'm real close to there. The whole story had to be shot in that time frame, that spool of film. So reporters, they got in, they got their goods, they didn't devil. It was just wham, and they're done. So Ray, from that time when he used to use film didn't have sound in the very beginning. It was black and white. An announcer's voice would come over it. He went from that format to colored film that had an audio track on the film. They're getting audio out in the field, and Ray, seen and open, he's like, I'm going to be the audio guy. So Ray's carrying around equipment to be the audio man, eventually migrates to cameraman. Back then, the cameras were huge. A lot of them had devices to study the camera. They weren't very simple to put on your shoulders. So Ray went through that format into color TV. He was there for all of that. All the way into videotape, where videotape was on 3/4 inch. You had a camera, you had a deck. It was a one-man band show at that time, but it was a lot of weight. All the way to Beta SP, where you had a single camera with a deck attached to it. Right down to almost HD. Ray was here yet when we went HD. When we went to an SD card that you could put 3 hours of high-definition video on it, that had to be a lot coming from 11 minutes of film, Ray. Ray was still here when we went DVC Pro. So all those formats, all that time that we evolved from what we started out, Ray was here. And I don't think there was anybody else here that actually touched each one of those formats, each one of that technology. And in every 8 to 10 years, we kept up with technology. And it just kept changing. And Ray was there for all that. I have a personal note about Ray. I started here in 1990. Art and Jennifer were on the morning show. Karen Foss and Dick Ford and Mike Bush and Bob Richards were the evening anchors. It was a different time. It was still kind of the heyday. We were on typewriters when I came to this place. Thinking about how computers now run our newsroom, it was definitely a different world. And I came into an area called signal acquisition. It was meant to take all the satellite feeds. That was the big thing back then in the early 90s. That's how we got all of our information through satellite. I was lucky enough to be trained by the first cameraman, Jerry Kleiman. He had moved inside and he trained me in signal acquisition. So at this point, I'm watching all these satellite feeds. Ray's got about 2 more years before he retires. I started in 1990. I think he officially retired in 92. And one day I'm sitting there getting a feed. And it's Ray shooting from the USS Missouri on his way from San Francisco to Hawaii. This was the story of a lifetime. I saw this, and that was one of the factors that came to me like, I gotta get get out of this little room, get out and start shooting. And within the next 6 to 8 months, I was out on the street. I found an opening to get out there. And it was stories like this that came in, that you saw people out and about and really living the dream of getting out and doing storytellings. So Ray, that was a moment for me that I can reflect on and go back and say, wow, that was incredible. That had to be one of the best stories and of a lifetime, to be able to be on that ship and go to Hawaii on the ship. And Ray actually was part of World War II, so in some translation, he was in the Navy, so for him, this was just huge. All in all, from 1948 to 1992, Ray was full-time. After that, he went part-time. 1 year elapsed, he went part-time. We've got it down to 69 years of service, Ray. I know we talked, and it's either 66 or 69, but that definitely is the winner. There's nobody else that I know of. If anybody else knows of him, speak now, but I'm pretty sure, Ray, you hold that record. And ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ray Hoffstetter.
Thank you. Well, this won't take long. First of all, thanks to the committee or whoever it was that chose me for this honor. I really appreciate it. I was telling Alicia when she called on the phone, I still work at Channel 5. I dream about it at night. And there always seems to be something wrong. Really, I do. Well, anyway, the main one I want to thank was my wife Muriel, who was part of all of this from the very beginning. And there's too many people I'd have to thank if I start naming them all off. But because they were the ones who gave me encouragement and support for whatever I was doing. So she said, Alicia, just talk about what you did at Channel 5. Well, it was February of 1948, when I walked into that Channel 5 studio to work for the first day, I said, this is for me. This is what I want to do. And so I did, for 60-something years there. But it was, back in those days, there were no schools, there were no classes. Everybody learned what they did as it went along. We did a lot of live shows. We're on the air from noon to 4, and from 6 to sign off around 10. And Alicia, there was 9 television stations. We were the 9th, but 3 of them were in Syracuse, New York, home of RCA. We were the ones that got into a home, not to a lab someplace, so they had that too. They called us pioneers back in those days, or not then, but now we were pioneers. I want to assure everybody we didn't come to work in a covered wagon. We did have some film we showed and slides, but it was mostly live stuff. And we did go out on a remote. The remote was to roll the camera out onto the street and ask questions of people. Most of the time it was like, what makes you mad? Crowds at a bank, no parking here, this and that. And the one gentleman we stopped, what makes you mad? He says, people that stop me on the street and ask dumb questions. There's also a good side to it. I got to meet presidents, I think 4 or 5 of them, going back with Johnson. Harry Truman came here. We have film of it in the library. Now, can you imagine the president? He's no longer in office, so he drives home in his own car to Independence. And when they have a big meeting for him here in St. Louis, he takes the train and a cab. Things have really changed. I've met movie stars, great sports people. The list goes on and on. I started to put them down, and I have a scrapbook at home, not a scrapbook, an autograph book. And what I did, it was a book called My Greatest Day in Baseball. And when the players were in town, they'd come to the studio, we'd interview them in the studio, and eventually we'd go down to the ballpark where we got into videotape. And I've got 52 signatures. 54 of them are in the Hall of Fame. Most of them are all gone by now, but it was really fun collecting those things. When, of course, the bottom of your tag says no autographs, but I just turned the tag on. I was assigned to work with Dick Deacon, and some of you maybe, I'm sure, know him. He was great to work with, really, and a very personal friend. When we got word at the station that my phone call came in and somebody wanted to talk to me, it was my wife telling me my father had just died. And Deacon could see across the room. He come over and he said, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" I said, "My dad just died." He said, we had a assignment letter. He says, "I'm taking Ray to his mother's house. Don't ask any questions." And away we went. He was really kind. Showed up the next morning with a great big ham. And he was a single guy. Some of the weird things that we did, Nixon came to town and gave a talk at the Kiel Auditorium at the time for the JCs. And I don't know why they don't do this when presidents come to town. He landed at Scotts Air Force Base, took a special car, a helicopter, over, landed at the Arts grounds, got into a special car, right up the street. They only had a block off a few streets. Gave his talk, and he came. We were outside. We were following outside, Deke and I, and the guy come running down. So the speech is over. Get ready to leave. Well, they had the big bus there for the press from Washington, but we turned ours around. Got on the press bus, and all of the press people are looking, who are these guys? They said, "Look." So we rode over on the helicopter all the way to Scotts Air Force Base. And of course, Channel 2 and 4 are way back over there. Well, anyway, eventually, it's like Randy said, I got into being a film cameraman, and I was talking to a couple of people here about one of the assignments we had. It was well, first of all, I would say I went to 2 different conventions. One for the Republicans up in Chicago when Reagan was nominated, and also when McGovern was nominated down in Florida. But there was one other convention that we covered, and we're still looking for the tape, film, aren't we? What it was a nudist convention. So Dick and I went down to nudist colony, and what's the old joke? I rang the doorbell and the maid answered. He said, "How do you know it was a maid?" He said, "Well, I knew it wasn't a butler." But we went in, and but the thing is, with the nudist colony, it's got to be eye contact. I mean, you don't want to be sitting there interviewing somebody. especially when it's a married couple. They did wear socks, whereas we could keep cigarettes in their pockets. Anyway, we got back and we were laughing about it a lot, and I had 15 people say, the next time you go, call me, let me know. But it was one of the unusual ones. When I was in the archives, I tried to find it down there. It's gone. We did Cardinal baseball games. KSD did them, and they didn't do all the games. In fact, not all the games were televised. Only certain ones were televised. And Channel 5 had it for, I think we did 20 games one year. And because it wasn't even television on the air if you wanted to see it. So I did that. Let's see. Oh, the most memorable time doing a ball game was on September the 10th, 1974. That's a memorable date. It's the date that Lou Brock broke the record for stealing 105 bases. So they were in town, and of course nobody was working at night, but we were all on call. And he got ready to play that night, so we better cover it. So we went down to the ballpark, my sound man, Bob Kirchhoff, and myself. Well, all the other stations, 2, 4, and I think we had a bigger camera than 5. They got way up in the press box where they always would shoot from. And I told Bob, I said, let's stay down here. So we were right up from third base. And he stole 104 to tie him in the first inning. And then he made an out, I think, the next time. And the next time he comes up, you know he was going to try and see if he got on. But he got on, and I told Bob, I said, we're going down on the field. He said, you can't go down, we're going down on the field. And so he stole it, and I got that flashed up to the signs flashing 105 blue, 105 blue. We went down and started to climb over the wall. Usher says, you can't come down here. I said, well, you get all those other photographers out, and I'll get out too. So we got pictures of him walking off, congratulating people. The usher carrying the base that he had went to the Hall of Fame. And I'm going to jump ahead about 30 years. My wife and I are up in Albany for a wedding of a relative. And I said, you know, I've been to the Hall of Fame twice, but I've always been working. I haven't been able to really see things. So let's go stop in and take a look. So in one area, I don't know if how many have been there, but one area is all about cardinals. And of course here is a pillar-like thing with the shoes that Lou Brock wore, the plate that he stole for 100, or the base they stole for 105. And there's a screen about that big showing all of the different steals that he made. And up came my picture. So I'm in the Hall of Fame. I had a hard time finding a copy of it for myself. Well, let's see. I've taken pictures out of helicopters, speedboats, paddle boats, the B-17. Got to fly back from Minneapolis where there was an air show to field out there in the gumbo dumps, whatever they call it now, but Spirit of St. Louis Airport. And that was a thrill to me to be flying back on a B-17. Been in a hot air balloon. There's a story on that one. One of the other cameramen says, now when they let the hot air out, the basket will hit and settle and tip over, and you just be ready and walk right on out. Well, it was right at the edge of wind for using a hot air balloon. So the guy kept saying, we left out of South County Park, and the guy says, we're going to have to try and sit down pretty soon, otherwise I'll have to cross the Mississippi, which means my chase crew is going to go all the way up to the JB Bridge, over, and then come down and find us. I said, I don't care, you can stay up for 5 hours. I'm enjoying this. Just land near a saloon anyway. But he said, oh, no, there's a field here. I'm going to try and get it down now. Brace yourself, this is going to be hard. It hit the ground, bounced around, and drug us for about 30 yards. And he's pulling in the thing to vent to let the hot air out. And when we finally settled, he starts cursing because his foot got caught under the basket. And I had to jump out and get the basket off his legs so he could get up. And first thing he says, that wasn't so rough, was it? I don't know, but it was fun doing things like that. Oh, and the next best thing was the Goodyear blimp was in town for 1976. It was the 200th anniversary of the country, but they were doing the whole Today Show right from down on the riverfront. All the cast and everybody was there. And the blimp was out of a field over across the river, and I was assigned to go up and be a cameraman in that for the first day that we were doing news and everything. And then Today Show says, we'll come back tomorrow. We want you to be the cameraman we're on the air all day, all morning long for New York and here. And so anyway, I got be the cameraman. We had to start out about 3 in the morning. All we did was circle as far as the Union Station and around. And then when we finally got done with the Today Show, the pilot was Larry Chambers. And he says, you don't mind if we stay up a little longer because they want to do some publicity shots of the blimp and the arch in the background. I said, fine with me, this is enjoyable. I said, you know that when I was in the Navy, I went to navigation school, and I wanted to be in the blimp brigade, as they called it. They used to search for German submarines off the Atlantic coast. I said, but the problem was, I said, my class graduated on the 15th of May. Germany surrendered on May the 8th, and I'll never forgive them for that. So we never got to do it. So Larry says, wait a minute. He gets out of the pilot seat. He says, sit down. So I got to fly the Goodyear blimp from the arch over the... He landed it. I wouldn't have anything to do with that. But what a thrill that was on something like that. I've been in different kinds of airplanes, and there's nothing like a single-engine plane that had 4 of us, the pilot, John Alba, myself, and Dick Deacon. We were flying down to Cairo, Illinois. You look out the window, there's nothing but woods and farmers' fields. So you kind of doze off. And there's nothing will wake you up faster in a single-engine plane when you hear I tell you, we both looked at each other. They were having trouble with the fuel pump. So we got out and did our business, and when he came back, the plane wasn't there, but it was a smaller one that they sent to bring us back. I thought one of us had to be tied on the wings because it wasn't, we made it back all right though. Let's see here. Oh yeah, but I flew on a cargo plane, the biggest one in the world, when we flew over to Arabia in 1990 for Operation Desert Shield. The fighting hadn't started yet. Saddam Hussein had was in Kuwait, but they chased him out after we left. And when we got there, the voice comes out, Dick Ford, and it was a fellow who was a camera photographer for the Navy from Kirkwood. And we got talking, and he mentioned the fact that you guys ought to try and get on the USS Missouri. It's going to go out to Pearl Harbor in commemoration of the Japanese attack on December the 7th. So we got busy on her. Barry Furlow, our producer at the time, he called everybody from mayors, the governors, the senators, practically probably got the president too, but it wasn't until the following November, so, which was about 10 months later, that we finally got permission to go aboard. But the naval, chief of naval operations is the highest rank you can get into, besides the Joint Chiefs of Staff. And he said, okay, we'll take you out, because it was going to be 7 days traveling across the Pacific. And what happens is he's got a Cardinal baseball cap on. So I think that had a lot to do with it. He was not from St. Louis, but he was a Cardinal baseball fan. And that was a thrill of a life for me. I got aboard ship, and as we were sailing out of the harbor, they said they got out in the clear ocean out away from everything. You know, all the civilians, there was some guys from the battleship reunion committee and that on board, a newspaper man, and a photographer and a correspondent. When you're with the network, you're a correspondent. Your local stations, you're a reporter. He was aboard doing it because from Los Angeles for the ABC network. And everybody should go down and sign your paper that you're not going to hold the Navy responsible for any injuries or anything. I said, if you didn't sign it, what are they going to do? Throw you overboard? You know? So I said, what's your social security number? I said, 338-9062. That was my service number. I hadn't used it in 40 years, but it came back to me just like that. That was really a thrill going on that big old thing, I'll tell you. The ship I was on was much, much smaller. It was a destroyer. Well, anyway, when we came, they always after over there, drink water, because it's really dry. Drink a lot of water. So I told Dick, I said, when we get back to Frankfurt, when they service the plane, we're going to find a club that's open. I said, I'm getting tired of drinking just water. So we found one, and we really could sleep good going home the rest of the flight. Going for that one. Okay, we used to give out dumb awards on a show we call Newsbeat. Anything that was wrong, they'd give you a dumb award for it. A lot of people didn't like it, but a lot of them gladly hung the plaque on the wall. Dumb awards, you know, like went over to Union Electric. It used to be Union Electric. It was Hammer, and now they had a big lobby. It's as big as this room here. And the anniversary, 100th anniversary of Edison and the light bulb, they had employees bring in electric toys, anything aids that was electric. So we went over and we interviewed them. But before we interviewed them, we had to have some lights. There wasn't an electric outlet in that whole lobby. Not one electric outlet in the lobby. I didn't tell them that, so I got done, put everything away, came back in. The guy said, we need more help. I said, no, I'm all right. So we showed them that they didn't have electric. The Carpenter's Hall. You ever been to Carpenter's Hall? There's no wood on the first floor. It's kind of amazing, but it's funny things like that we got to do. What was it? One of the big vans I was driving with a great big dish on the top of it. The accelerator was stick, and so I said we got to get it fixed. Got to stay in, so we only had two. So I tied a string around the mirror to the accelerator pedal, so when I pull the string, and it would, it wouldn't be stuck. But what was it? Fred Stoyer was our assistant chief engineer. He says, Ray, I got to take the van. They need to do a live shot out of the Chase Hotel. I said, but about the sticker on the thing, no, don't worry, don't worry. I said, well, just remember it as string. He pulled out of the alley, turned left on Olive Street, turned right onto 11th Street, turned left on Locust, and then right back in. He said, how do you drive this thing? I said, I've been doing it for a week. It was fixed the next day. Well, let's see. I used to drive people nuts here, a couple of them. One of them was one of our producers, I guess that's what she did. But she was a fanatic. She was a fanatic, but the phone had to be a certain way. So every time she left her desk, I'd turn her around. And then she'd come in and what happened? I said, I don't know, I could turn her around. The other one was that we had a little cubby hole, it was a closet where we kept waiting to be called for doing a job. It was over on Olive Street. And along the wall, they had photographs of all the on-air personalities. So this one woman reporter who's going to remain anonymous, her picture was there, and I turned and tilted it. And she come by and says, what happened to my picture? I said, I don't know, I didn't see anything. So she straightened it up. Next day, picture was tilted. Every day up until Friday. And when she came in Friday, her picture was straight, all the rest of them were tilted. You never know who did that. Okay. Well, anyway, this had been a wonderful job for me. I've been so fortunate and so lucky to not only to get to this place, but the people that were working here. Really, I still have friends. There's still a small group of us from the pioneer days that get together for lunch. It's been I can't believe sometimes all the things that have happened in places I've been and seen and done, but it wouldn't have been for this, for the thing of television, and there's been nothing like this industry. I tell you that we were doing nothing, and like they explain how far along this has come in years, and it's not done yet. So I want to thank everybody who wants. I should thank my son Steve here, who came up from Nashville. See, he's in the music business. See what you missed by doing all that? He could have been doing it. He used to ride around when he was a teenager in the news cars for that. And then one other person that did land in the second generation or third. My grandson, David, his son called me up shortly after he got out of college in South Carolina and said something about he was working for a PBS station. What can you tell me to do with television? How do I do this or that and everything? And I explained as best I could what he should or shouldn't do, or I don't know whether he paid any attention to me, but right now he's got his own company doing documentary work for all different places, including the state of South Carolina. So I'm really proud of them all. So anyway, I better get out of that little place here. I said that I was at the Cooper's Hall of Fame when musical went into the Hall of Fame, and he had an expression he used there. I think he repeated it down there when he retired his number, was that I hope that I haven't been to good television and Channel 5 as it has been good to me. Thank you.